Hey guys and gals, Matt Crane here. Welcome to another edition of Making It Crane. I'm a sales and marketing manager for Rush Impact Marketing. I host the Power of Great podcast that airs on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. I also contribute and write for online publications such as the Huffington Post, Influencive Pursuit, and Addicted to Success. I've coached and trained and mentored hundreds of businesses, entrepreneurs, and business leaders alike on how to improve their sales and enhance their brand by embracing the digital marketing landscape. But today's episode is really spearheaded and encouraged by my man Carlos Gil. Carlos Gil is a well-known Snapchatter and he's a huge social media influencer, and he put up a video on his awesome YouTube channel. You got to get over and check that out. And he talked about his top 10 movies of all time, so it encouraged me to do my very own. So getting right into it, number 10, Dumb and Dumber. This movie is really not going to do anything for you in terms of expanding your mindset. It's certainly not going to help grow your sales, and it's not going to help you improve in business. What it will do is it will make you laugh from start to finish. Jeff Daniels and Jim Carrey play amazing roles, and Jim Carrey's facial expressions and ad-libs throughout this movie are legend. Wait for it, dairy. So number 10, Dumb and Dumber. Number 9, Top Gun. Talk about two different extremes, right? But if you were born in the 80s and you were a fan of those kind of movies that were geared around that era, late 80s, early 90s, Tom Cruise obviously is one of the actors that catapulted to fame during that time period. His legendary career needs no introduction or description. However, I believe that it was Top Gun that put him on the map as far as really catapulting him to superstardom and Hollywood A-list fame. This movie is going to grip you from start to finish with its fast-paced, exciting, and its roller coaster of emotion ride. And one that I would definitely say you got to watch. Number 8, hopefully this is a movie that you've all heard of before, but one of the leading actors now is Daryl from The Walking Dead. Boondock Saints. Little disclaimer for you parents: do not watch this with your children, and if you are not a big fan of a shoot it out, blood and guts, a lot of cursing, then this movie's not for you either. But Boondock Saints is really built on two leading characters that are built in the Catholic faith, and they believe that the only way to really carry out their religious purpose is to become mercenaries and take out a lot of the leading mob factors and a lot of just flat out bad people. And they really try to take up for the little guy, and it really kind of shows how how your view of what is considered good versus evil really kind of has a battle. So I really like this movie, and definitely would suggest, if you're into this type of stuff, give Boondock Saints a look. Number 7, Welcome to My Office, Hoyt. My man Denzel Washington won an Oscar for Training Day and absolutely crushed this role. It really shows you throughout this movie how power can get corrupted by just sheer greed. But throughout this movie, Denzel is also countered by a character that is unquestionably ethical and really battles with doing things by the book and the right way. And ultimately, as much as Denzel tries to corrupt this character, ultimately it's Denzel that winds up meeting his demise, if you will, and owning up to all of his mistakes and how his greed really allowed him to believe that he was bulletproof. So you definitely want to check out Training Day. Denzel Washington did not win an Oscar because he didn't deliver a great performance. So he's going to really give you the goods in this movie. Number 6, one of 2 Kevin Costner movies that made my list, The Postman. Kevin Costner is one of my favorite actors of all time, period. And this movie is really based during a time frame when America had imploded. The United States no longer had its presidential leader. They were ran by a militant and a military dictator who literally went from city to city, if you will, or from tribe to tribe, if you will, and just inflicted his will based on the military power that he had, the weapons that he had, and the fear factor that he put behind people. Kevin Costner wound up adopting a character as a postman, which at this time, it was, you're carrying letters again. The Pony Express concept was really big. And he really adopted this character in order to mix in and mingle in with other factions. And along the way, he gets put in a very precarious situation with a female. And you start to see how Kevin starts seeing things more as a human being with feelings. And he lets his guard down, and he all of a sudden becomes this leader that everybody rallies around, and he changes the course of history throughout this movie. So The Postman is a movie that you don't want to miss. Number 5, the second of Kevin Costner's movie that made my list, and in my opinion, out of his illustrious career, his best movie, Oliver Stone's JFK. You know, obviously the movie is built around the frame of the assassination of John F. Kennedy, and then you twist that and put some Hollywood spin on it, and you have a great merging of two amazing things: a real story with real feelings that people can really identify with, and then you take Hollywood, who brings all the excitement and the cinematography around that, based on Oliver Stone being an amazing director. Kevin Costner plays a lawyer who takes on the establishment, who takes on powerful political figures, and truly looks to uncover the real reason behind the assassination of JFK. This locks you into your seat from start to finish. You don't want to take your eyes away from the screen, and you walk away wondering if John F. Kennedy was really, or if Kevin Costner was really a part of that process in trying to bring the case to life. That's how gripping and how real of a role he really played. So JFK is a movie you don't want to miss. Number 4, Regulators, Mount Up, Young Guns. You know, it's really kind of that oddball movie, I would say, that made my top 10, because honestly, for me, I just really think that Emilio Estevez and the movie itself, it was just a lot. It was exciting. It was fun. It was one of those movies that kind of caught me, and I was, really intrigued by the characters. It forced me to go back and want to study more about Billy the Kid and about that whole process during the Wild Wild West. And you kind of see some differentials of the characters. You see characters that are so hard pressed on just being an outlaw. Then you see characters that are torn, whether they should be a good guy or a bad guy. And throughout that, I think that that's what makes the movie so important, is that sometimes you can believe in your own hype enough to where you really do become the bad guy. So Young Guns is another movie that makes my top 10. Number 3, they may take my life, but they will never take my freedom. Mel Gibson uttered those words in the movie Braveheart, and the rest is history. Mel Gibson has made movie after movie after movie, and it seems to be one of those things where he just hits home runs and everything. But in this movie where he played William Wallace, who really was the face and the vocal leader and the physical leader of the Scottish fight for independence from British tyranny and rule. And man, from start to finish, once again, another movie that really kind of lays out William's early childhood and how he faced a lot of adversity and loss. He becomes a young man who falls in love, and he looks to be gaining that leadership role, and it looks as if he's going to have the family and he's going to live out a long, great life of love and happiness, and tragedy strikes again. And then he just becomes this he just kind of becomes ravaged with revenge and refusal to take any more of the British tyranny. And this movie he directed as well, so kudos to Mel on this. But you definitely want to check out Braveheart if you haven't already. But definitely number 3 on my list. Number 2, Shawshank Redemption. I first got introduced to Morgan Freeman when he played with Kevin Costner in Robin Hood. However, watching this movie and watching how it unfolds of a gentleman that goes to prison for supposedly killing his wife during a rage that's fueled by passion, It shows how corrupt the prison system was in the early 50s and 60s. It also shows how this particular character is so smart. His name's Andy. Is so smart that he understood how to manipulate the system by learning more of the behind the scenes of the warden and the prison guards, and he was able to earn favors that kept himself and those friends that he wanted to create in prison safe and secure, and stopping the abuse. It also ultimately led to his freedom, which is a cliffhanger because you really don't know what happened to him in the end other than he was out. He kind of went on and started living this life, but you really didn't know what had ultimately become of this character in Shawshank Redemption. I would tell you, it was one of those movies that just left me like, wow, I can't believe I just watched that. So Shawshank Redemption comes in at number 2 on my list. And then number 1, my favorite movie of all time is I'll Make Them an Offer They Can't Refuse, The Godfather. You know, Al Pacino, Marlon Brando, these two gentlemen absolutely play characters that you know, characters that you understand, characters at an era and a time when the mafia, so to speak, was becoming more sensationalized, more publicized, more commercialized, if you will. Just a movie that grips you. Obviously, Francis Ford Coppola went on and directed a multitude of movies in the Godfather series that not only helped solidify Al Pacino as one of the greatest actors of our lifetime, but really put him on the map as one of the very best to ever get behind the screen. And you know, it's based on a mob family. It's really got a lot of real stuff, and once again, it's going to be a movie that's got some cursing, got some shoot 'em out, has a lot of dark undertones to it, and really shows how a character in Al Pacino, who was raised to be good and fly right, whose parents did everything they could to keep him out of the life. He has he kind of gets brought into this indirectly, and he really becomes the backbone of the family, and he becomes the backbone of keeping his family relevant in the mafia when all his parents really wanted for him was to not have anything to do with that. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen, my top 10. I definitely appreciate you hanging out with me right here on Making It Crane. I look forward to sharing many more awesome videos with you guys and gals. You know, this series and this particular show is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to tackle a lot of different topics. We're going to tackle some fun stuff. We're going to tackle some teaching stuff. And we're going to help you guys and gals across the board in all aspects. So I'd love to hear back from so many of you what you thought of my top 10. I would also love to know what your top 10 is. And if you haven't already, get over to my man Carlos Gill. Check out his YouTube channel. And guys and gals, I'll see you next time on Making It Crane.